Come on, girls, come on. I am a farmer and I grow crops, not grass. I grow a crop to feed my cows. Only thing I don't do is I don't have a mowing machine, I don't have a chopper, I don't have a blower, I don't have a silo. They do it all for me and say, Tom, we're full, we're good, we're going to get you 100 pounds of milk tonight.
Bringing the people behind our food to life.
Beginning of '87, I was in the procedure of bankruptcy. They were actually wanted me to sign the papers to release everything over and take the farm. And I knew the amount of money I owed, I would never be able to pay it in my entire life. I was denied a loan to buy seed and chemicals and chemical fertilizer. And so I was done for, and I knew it. My son and daughter had both left the farm because there was nothing left here. I had been the top producer and up in the top 10 always. And that was working beyond my facilities and abilities. So it was over for me. And then my cows actually, I say they got together and had a meeting and they just busted out and went over to an April pasture that was actually, I was going to plow and put into sorghum or whatever. It was clover and there was some wild oats and all, but it was just wild. I was so disgusted. I just throwed my hat down, stomped my hat, that's it, I quit. I am no longer a farmer. Those are not my cows. If they get out and get hit by a car, I don't know whose they are, but they're not mine. And that's the way I felt. So I went in the house and turned on the TV and it was the awfulest program I know I've ever seen. I don't remember the name of it, All My Money or Too Many Children or something other like that. But when I saw that, I said, that's the other side, Tom. And this is this side. Go back and get this thing, do whatever you gotta do. Milk them till they come get you. So I milked them that night, and when they came in the barn that night, instead of being confined all day and night, they had a more of a pleasant odor about them. They'd been out in that clover and all that beautiful stuff. And the next morning when I milked, and we were up 200 pounds of milk. Now when you're the top producer in the state, and you've had 17 different items you put in your mixed ration to make milk, and they made 200 pounds more and you done nothing different, something happened. I went over in the pasture and I noticed they'd grazed the top half of the plant. Of those plants. I know as a farmer, I would have mowed that field and put it in hay. I would have mowed it at the ground and baled the whole thing. But they had only taken the top half of the plant. And I said, okay, girls, you can get back in there tomorrow and take the other half. And I put them back in there. We dropped a little bit of milk, and they didn't take the other half. They took half of the half. And so that really made me start thinking of what in the world. And so I led them into another pasture, and by that time, by a short period of time, a few days, I was up 500 pounds of milk. And they were going through everything on this farm, eating the top half. Then I ran some samples of the plants. I took the whole plant and the top half and the bottom half. I remember the top half was 22% protein, and the bottom half was like 6 or 8. So then I wanted to know what's the difference here, and I found out that this was lectin fiber, wood. And this is cellulose fiber. And cows don't make milk off of wood. At the time of April is when a plant comes freshly out of the ground. No matter what month, if it's just planted and it comes out of the ground, at that time it is the most nutritional of the time because it's cellulose fiber. And as it grows, it turns into lectin fiber, but it also has a seed head of corn or millet or whatever you got. But then it becomes an energy source. But protein has gone to nothing. So I knew if I could come up with 12 Aprils, these cows would perform in so much better way. But even to my most imagination that I ever dreamed it would be as good as it really has come for me. The 12 April system is a system different than conventional and different than grazing. It is a totally different system that you can develop, and you can't do it overnight, but you can develop it piece at a time. We have 100 acres here on the farm, and we have 70 acres in pasture, 20 acres in woods, We have 83 cows right now. We want to stay under 90 cows. That's what fits the land. But what the system is that we have 29 paddocks here. 29 paddocks with 2.5 to 3.5 acres per paddock. And with that, we have something growing in every one of those paddocks that's different. And we have dividers that we can divide this into where the cows will graze one of these paddocks each day. And it'll look like it's been mowed with a lawnmower. But the thing of it is, it can be designed any way you want it. You just got to have crops that you grow that the cows can get to. What we'll do with an old crop, we'll come in here and mow it 4 inches above the ground with a bush hog. Leave the stuff lay. Then in 5 days, we'll come back and bush hog it to the ground. And what's happened, I'll tell you the story. I had to go to town for my farm service, fill out my farm service agency books, papers, you know, and I had to go. And Doug was here, and I said, Doug, go bush hog field number 4. Tom, Doug, just go do, I need 4 done, and I took off. I come back, and we planted that field, and when that crop came up, plant 4 came up beautiful. Plant crop 3, which was planted the next day, wasn't near what that crop was, and it was all spindly and such, and I said, God, what do we do to 4? He said, that's the one I bush hogged twice. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'd already bush hogged it when you told me to do it. So I said, how many days was that? And we got back, it was 5 days. So we've been doing it ever since. So what we find is happening, here again, this is Farmer Tom at University of Farmer Tom. We bush hog it and cut it down and plant our no-till crop in there, and it has to struggle to come with this 4-inch plant up above it. But what happens when we bush hog it 4 inches and then go back in and hit it to the ground, what I think that plant says, that's it. I've called for all my resources, and now here I've hit again, I'm dormant. And it actually goes dormant. And that gives my new crop a time to get out of here before it's covered by the other crop and where it won't get the sun and all. And that spindly crop wasn't getting the sun. But then after it got out of the crop, out of the old crop, it done fine. But we lost a bit of nutrients and all by not doing that 5-day double bush hog. We only use it when we've planted, when we've mowed or plowed or grazed. We only use manure in a field that needs it. We have a record of every field we put it in and how much. We manage the manure, and now it's saved me thousands and thousands of dollars. I haven't bought chemicals or chemical fertilizer now in over 21 years on this entire farm. This field was planted 3 days ago with a no-till planter, bush hogged 2 times to be able to make sure that it would come up. She'll probably be up tomorrow, maybe after that rain. But you can see the no-till marks with a no-till planter all out through there. And there you can see just coming out of the ground. So this field will look like that field in about 20 to 25 days. Every day they went out this one road, one lane. And by the time there were mud holes that deep, and they were like this, the cows will step here. Here's your mud holes. Every day after day. And then the area where they came in was so muddy, it was up to the hocks. And we had a cow jumping out of that up on the cement ramp and broke her leg. So I quit, that's it for 12 Aprils. I'm not doing that again. That is not gonna work. We'd dump truckloads of crusher run and it just like suck it up. So we were really in trouble with that. Well then Sarah, I asked for a farmer's grant to research what type of things that would work on roads. And so we tried 4 or 5 different things, and then all of a sudden we heard about this geotextile cloth. We took a road grader and made a ditch like that, and then the cloth comes over there, tucks in here. Then we put 4 to 6 inches of crusher run on top of that. So this keeps the crusher run from traveling and holds the carpet in from cutting up. So now you got this nice road, and you just take the tractor a dump truck and put crusher run gravel 4 to 6 inches on top of it, pack it, and it's done. Here's some of the geotextile cloth that the crusher run is drained off of, but you can see still it does the job it has to. We had about 3/4 inch of rain last night, and no effect as far as the cows go. There'll be no effect to them at all. There's no mud to walk in. I think the variety that we have here, I truly feel the cows really do appreciate it, because they'll come into a field, and when it's a new field, it's like they broke their neck. They start grazing, and that's what I always say. Those cows, you see those cows' heads down, they're making money. Rotational grazing is this grass here. Those cows will eat that, but the protein level is low, and the nutritional value is low, so they won't have maybe 6 or 8 or 10,000 pound herd average, but they've cut their input cost, so they've done that. But I didn't cut my production. I'm 22,000 pound herd, but I graze a crop, not grass. I graze a crop. I don't graze fescue, I don't graze Bermuda, I don't graze any grass. Now, I do plant ryegrass with my crop, but I plant a crop. I plant it 4 or 5 times in the year, a different crop. And so my cows are grazing tremendous amount of forage, and the nutritional value is out the roof. For the fall and winter, I planted ryegrass, and Uchi clover, and wow, it was unbelievable. And so as it would grow up knee high, and I would test it at like 22% protein or 18 or 23 or whatever, and so we have a period of time that would work. Then I found out there were other ryes. There was Florida Black, and there was Renzabruzzi and Athens, and you can find out that some of those have quicker periods of time. They'll come up quicker, or last longer, or take more coal. And so those are the things that you find out. And I don't know, in South Carolina I can tell you for sure, but in other states throughout the country, you need to know what performs better. And a lot of times the questions we ask the answer is not what we were looking for. I just asked that as a farmer, conventional farmer, what ryegrass is the best to grow here, and it was Renzabruzzi. But yet Florida Black would be 2-3 weeks prior to Renzabruzzi of being able to plant it, to where I would have 2 or 3 earlier grazing than the Renzabruzzi and then the Athens. So I started working with all these, and in the winter, there's no doubt ryegrass and clover is the king. Then when my April comes, I may plant sorghums or Sudans or whatever, and they are my early spring. But in the summer, 7 months of the summer can be alfalfa, grazing alfalfa. And they say it doesn't work and you have to have the chemicals. I haven't used any chemicals in 21 years on this farm. But when the weevils come for the alfalfa, all I do is put 1,400 pound Holsteins on them and they're gone. And the cow's protein level was increased a little bit by the weevils maybe. I went to the millets because we have a lot of dry weather here. And I went with some, at the beginning I went just some common millets, but then I found out the Tifleaf 3, that a fine stem, a beautiful leaf, and high in protein. And it would even wait for rain. So my July, April, and all is millet. So I have 12 Aprils. I have something on this chart that will grow all year long. Something will grow any time of the year. But if you only have 2 Aprils, you got one better than you did. So from 2 Aprils on to 12 is a success. And as time goes by, you'll find there's many more things to plant than you'd ever dreamed of. By the way, all of my seeding is higher rates than is recommended. Now I would probably go no less than 10% more than commonly is recommended for your grazing, because with this grazing you need very good forage seed population. And the cows, I want them to eat plenty every step they take. So you don't do it scanty by any means. What I learned is to follow instead of lead. I had to follow my cows out to that pasture when they broke out. I had to follow them to see that they ate only the top half. I had to not say, here's a hay, I mowed this field to the ground and you're going to eat it. And I'm going to put this stuff in it to make you eat it. So I found out is what the cows really love and happy and come to me and do everything like that is when they got that top half of that plant. Farmer Tom, this is fantastic. You're welcome.